Hey y'all, what's happening? I'm Hank. I'm Hank Parker, and this is the breakdown. You know me, Hank Parker, the same white Christian from South Dakota you've come to know and trust. What is that? Get that shit out of here. Make America great again. Yeah, that's more like it. Hank Parker, that's me. As you may have heard, the great white supremacist hope, the destroyer of worlds, the orange beam of light, Donald Trump, secured the presidency last night, and white Americans like me are rejoicing because it's time to take back power. White power. White power. And right now, as those shillery establishment Democratic cucks sit around pondering, man, what happened to us? How'd we lose this election? They'll start playing the blame game. And there are definitely plenty of people to blame. But here's who you can't blame. Bernie fucking Sanders, who it's pretty clear would have crushed Trump. Hell, even I, Hank Parker, might have voted for him, but then again, I'm a sexist white guy, so what do I know? But your DNC buried him, and thank God they did. Because Americans apparently were so desperate for an anti-establishment revolutionary candidate that we probably would have elected a socialist. Instead, we got an orange ball of raging fire who grabbed us by the pussy. And because he's famous, we were happy to let him do it. You also can't blame third-party candidates like Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, who really didn't do much to split the vote. I'm talking to you, Paul Krugman, you fucking imbecile. You should probably blame whoever's idea it was to run such a negative goddamn campaign. Negative campaign depresses voter turnout. So when Hillary said, "Don't vote for my opponent," what you all heard was, "Don't bother voting." And you're right, a candidate isn't entitled to your vote. They have to fucking earn it. You know who did earn your vote? President Donald J. Trump. He wanted it so bad, he was willing to change his mind on everything. He was willing to go to deaths no sane human would go on national television to get that vote. And by God, he did. But still, I should also thank all you non-voters. Hillary may have been a terrible candidate who didn't have much of a message and whose cronies railroaded Bernie out of the nomination, and maybe there was a really good episode of Girls on HBO Go. So I guess you probably had a good reason not to bother getting out and voting against the guy who openly was endorsed by the KKK.
I honor him for that. I also agree with his trade policy and a few other issues. But I disagree with him on some other things. But the point is, I have not endorsed him, but I do think that we should vote for him.
Then again, the biased corporate media told you Hillary had this in the bag, but she didn't have this in any bag. Apparently because there wasn't any room left in there because of the 33,000 emails she shredded and the hot sauce, all that hot sauce she had. So luckily, thanks to Democrats' flagrant incapacity to look beyond their revolving D.C. New York circle jerk and the fact that they were promoting one of the least liked, most establishment candidates of all time, the Senate, the House, and the presidency, and also a couple seats in SCOTUS now belong to the Republicans. Republicans, by the way, who didn't even stand by Trump's side when he needed them the most. Like when they wouldn't admit that bragging about committing sexual assault is just locker room talk. Everybody knows that. What was that about, Republicans? Or when they refused to join in when he shit on the mother of a fallen soldier. But I did. I was there. I shit on that fallen mother soldier. I yelled at the TV. I said that. So let's not forget that. I, Hank Parker, did stand by Trump's side. And now, God willing, if our supreme leader stays true to his words, which he conveniently changes his mind on whenever he pleases, we can look forward to things like the criminalization of abortion, the deportation of 11 million undocumented immigrants, a glorious fucking wall, indiscriminate bombing and widespread civilian deaths in the Middle East, which will undoubtedly breed even more terrorists intent on destroying the United States, which means we can kill even more of them.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
And perhaps most importantly, the prosecution and jailing of corrupt, criminal Hillary Clinton. Maybe even throw Rosie O'Donnell in there. Law and fucking order, ladies and gentlemen. Law and order, which means that the press is biased when they repeat your own quotes back to you. Law and order like questioning a judge's capacity to make fair rulings because his parents are from Mexico. Law and order like bringing back discriminatory and unconstitutional policing practices. And by the way, you know who else thought a Great Wall was good for keeping lousy immigrants out? China. So who are we to deny the success story of the Chinese who will get our jobs back from? We will. Trump told me so. And perhaps Trump should save the most effusive praise for Obama, because if it hadn't been for Trump's ability to stir up proud white Americans like me by questioning that secret Muslim socialist in chief's allegiance to this country, Trump never would have had a chance. I'm Hank Parker. Please don't put me in an internment camp. Please.